Hey, all you Arizona lovers. This is the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose.
And I'm your producer, Brittany.
And here at Finding Arizona podcast, we collect the local stories of all entrepreneurs and from around the valley. So join us at findingarizonapodcast.com, where you can hear every episode and see it as well at
YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment below who you want to see next on our show. And when you're ready to start your podcast, you found the right spot. Found House, your next podcast production company.
Now, let's get back to the show. Score big with SeatGeek. Whether it's concerts, sports, or live events, SeatGeek has you covered. Use code FindingArizona to get a fantastic $20 discount on your SeatGeek tickets. Catch your favorite live events hassle-free with extra savings. Visit SeatGeek.com and make every experience unforgettable. Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose, and as always, we bring in fantastic guests every week. Today's no different. I would love to introduce Mr. Ted Taylor, who is the CEO behind, I want to say this right, Family Promise of Greater Phoenix. I would also like to say they're a nonprofit organization helping homeless families attain self-sufficiency. I'm going to get this. Attain self-sufficiency with dignity. Thank you for being on the show, Ted.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
I was tongue twisted there, but I really do. I think we were talking off. We were talking off air. I really do like talking to nonprofits. I think it's just really great to hear your guys' story. So that being said, I will ask you the question that we typically ask everyone: is give us a little bit of your origin story. I want to know just from your perspective of how your journey came to working with Family Promise.
Well, I'm a small town kid. I grew up in Globe, Arizona. So
Oh, wow.
No Globe, but I'm a Globe kid.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I do know Globe. I've been to Globe a couple of times.
The best Mexican food in America. Let's just say it up front. But I loved growing up in a small town. And so, Phoenix was the big city.
Yeah.
That was the once a year trip. But
Wow.
anyway, grew up in a small town, went to the University of Arizona, got a degree in business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I ended up moving into the cotton business. So I started in the cotton business at a cotton gin. It was a little bit of family history there, but I wanted to be in agriculture. So I got in the cotton business.
Wow.
I was in that business for about 14 years I'd worked up through loans and ginning into the marketing department or merchandising.
Okay.
So it was actually a wonderful part of my history. I really enjoyed it. And then when I got out of that business, I started a small pet products company of my own, building grooming tables. I had a patent on it, and it was a fascinating project. And we built those tables for a couple of years, and then I ended up selling that company to a fairly large animal health products company.
Wow.
And then I did some turnarounds here in the Phoenix area, meaning companies that were struggling that I helped bring back to life.
Yeah.
And then finally, this weird circuitous call came.
Yeah.
And that call was what changed the balance of my life so far.
I would love to, okay. From one small town person to another. So I will just I say this a lot because we have different guests and it's just kind of my story of growing up. I grew up on the Indian reservation up north on the Hopi Res. And for us, the big city was Flagstaff. So our thing was going to Flagstaff for the weekend. And it's just the ideals of like, there's something out there that you can strive to something a little bit different or a little bit, just extraordinary to you, just like your marvel in it of how massive and opportunistic it can be. So I kind of relate on that level of like, I grew up in a very small area and I wanted something else and I wanted more. And I went to college down here in ASU and I just never left. And, that's one thing that I think, I really am in the process of like learning myself, learning, the things that I find intriguing, or at least in my professional career as well. I want to continue to at least be observant and be malleable to what's, coming my way. I think I still have a few more years to get to know my own style and my own methods and how I want to go about it before I can safely say I have a grasp on professional like things that I want to do and feel confident in my aspect of style. But
Mhm.
that being said, I go into this conversation of like, I like how you are the Mr. Fix-It of just like business. Like you have the acumen of like, look, I've done this. I know how things and just problem solve essentially for businesses. So has that something that has ever occurred to you, is like the business acumen being a certain level of like, you being able to help so many businesses in your past?
Well, let me be really clear. Prior to doing the turnarounds, I was always the guy that liked to try things. I was
Yeah.
always doing projects, and I'm a nonstop guy, so everybody kind of knew that about me. But when turnarounds started, I literally had no idea how to do it.
Hmm.
But I had a friend who had done turnarounds. And so he became a mentor for me and he
Nice.
coached me about how really to fix businesses. And so it's deep gratefulness more than anything
Yeah.
for his willingness to give of himself
Mhm.
to literally to help me learn.
Yeah.
And so I spent a lot of time. His name is Russ Douglas. He's still alive. He's an amazing man.
Awesome.
And he blessed me with knowledge.
That's awesome.
And I have to say this, that was also a part of the ministry. The work that I do today
Hmm.
is imparted by him.
Hmm.
He gave me that desire to teach as well. So I
Awesome.
think it's been amazing in that way.
Yeah. I think it's wonderful to hear these stories where like a mentor comes in. I've been hearing it a lot more prevalently with those who are coming in through our podcast. This kind of master that comes into their life that allows them to, not even just feel more confident, but also open a whole new world of opportunity out there for that they didn't even really realize was there for them. So I I say that to be like, oh, that's really like that is so intriguing to me that we have these stories that are connected in the tissue of like having thematic themes like a master come in and try and divulge education and teachings.
And appreciate this. Me being 15 years in serving homeless families, which is mostly
Hmm.
young mothers who
Yeah.
oftentimes have lost their community.
Hmm.
That connection we're now right now talking about somebody who chose to give of their life to help me
Yeah.
learn how to do something important.
Yeah.
I am now privileged to do that with families.
Hmm.
And so in some ways, it's a blessing that becomes a blessing that becomes a
Yeah.
blessing. And
It's a
I
ripple
think,
effect.
if I could honestly tell you this, I think that's the blessing of life.
That's
I think
wonderful.
we realize that, or we realize that helping others is at the heart of what
Mhm.
makes joy in this life. I think it changes everything. And that's what I love
Absolutely.
about what I do.
Absolutely. So you did bring up the calling, and I think that one of the pivotal things, or what I like to call the aha moment, like that's the calling. And I would love to understand just a little bit of if you could divulge a little bit more of that story for us. I think it's for certain people, it's a very traumatic experience. For others, it's just something that they stumbled into. If you can get as broad or specific as you want, but I mean, I would love to just kind of because the aha moment really speaks to a lot of the entrepreneurs, a lot of people who are struggling to seek for an answer. I would love to just divulge that a little bit more for our audience.
Okay.
Yeah,
So here you go. I married my high school sweetheart. I've actually known her since third grade. By the way, our 32nd wedding anniversary was last week.
congratulations.
And one of our dreams of life was to have a family.
Mhm.
And we were unable to have children. And we were concerned about adoption at the time.
Sure.
And so there's no other way to say this, but I fought with God about it because I didn't understand why I couldn't have a family.
Absolutely.
And that fight was for 20 years.
Mm.
And so what ultimately happened was that after I'd done the turnarounds, I'd had sort of this feeling of success in my life from a financial perspective and from a business perspective, but true joy was not in me.
Mm.
I was not a joyful man. I was a driven man. And
Sure.
so when I did my last turnaround, which was a hard one, uh, when you finish a turnaround, it's this empty feeling. You don't know what you're going to do next. I didn't know what I was going to do next.
Yeah.
And so here's this strange intersection. The pastor of my church came to me and he said, "Hey, Ted, you've been volunteering." He knew my situation, but he said, "You've
Mm.
been volunteering for Family Promise for 3 years. And I happen to be chairman of the board. And our executive director is retiring.
Hmm.
And I think you should think about doing this." And I was like, "What?" Like at first, I don't know how to deal with kids. I
Yeah.
don't, this is almost all women. It's
Yeah.
81% women.
Yeah.
I'm like, "What?" I had no even concept of it.
Hmm.
And mind you, being in turnarounds, it was all about due diligence.
Hmm.
I did zero due diligence.
Yeah.
I went home and I said to my wife, Debbie, "Hey, Pastor Art came to me today and said the director's retiring from Family Promise. I should do this. What do you think?" And my recollection of her response was, "If you think we're supposed to do this, then let's do this."
I love that.
That, that was 15 years ago. And I have to tell you something. The perfection of what was built into me
Hmm.
over the 49 years prior to prepare me for this work was
Hmm.
absolutely amazing.
Good.
And what I realized is that he put in me this hunger to protect children, to look after. You see, the parents would have been the age of my children had I had
Hmm.
children.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this deep knowing that began to evolve out of me that I was perfectly made to do this because of everything that had intersected my life. I mean, just to give you an example, I used my training and turnarounds to teach. I teach families how to manage cash
Yeah.
15 weeks ahead of now, a tool that I use to rebuild an aerospace company.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
it was just perfection. When I was in the cotton business and I was told I was going to South Texas to work in the sample rooms, which was sort of the hardest, no air conditioning, toughest crews. I had no idea that what was being built in me was a love for
Hmm.
people who struggle. It was so perfect. I desired to be nothing more than them. And
Yeah.
I have this very deep connection to the families that we serve. You will often find me at the picnic table instead of the desk because I prefer to be with them.
Yeah.
I prefer to, I know that most of the men they're not a part of these families. And yet I'm a man.
Hmm.
And I love supporting them because I want
Yeah.
them to know authentically that I care. So
Absolutely.
anyway, that call happened 15 years ago. And what's been happening since is this just continual blessing that keeps coming. It first comes in joy, but then it comes in abundance.
Yeah.
The amount of growth at Family Promise. By the way, when I started, there were 2 employees,
Hmm.
and I was the second one.
Wow.
There were there was no money and an $80,000 balloon payment on the mortgage due in
Hmm.
8 months, and I'd never raised a penny. I had no idea how to do the work.
Yeah.
So I really do believe that, God deserves all the glory for this one.
Yeah.
I'm a grateful man. That's what I am.
That in itself is just a simply beautiful way of just going from what you told me about you and your wife, and just it's tough enough to grow up and you try and try and try. And that is something that I am going through the process now of understanding that you are trying your best through all of this, and it's working out. A lot of the things that you propelled, it did well. And it's this singular thing that it brings a lot of joy. And for me, being my son is now 4, I and he's my first. That moment of fatherhood, of parenting, the switch flipped holding him, and the reflection of the world changed for me having him in my life.
Amen, brother.
It is a completely singular moment in my life that really ripple effects. And this is something that we're talking about. The ripple effect itself is building. And so I'm so happy that there's this thing that I was thinking about while you were telling your story, was this kind of like the idea of being where we are in the desert and being dry and not having places of water or abundance of water. There's this, this drip, and then it starts to, when the rains come in, when the monsoons come in, that trickle turns into a very steady flow of water. And it's just one of those things that I like was thinking about with you. And so it's the idea of like you didn't have something, but then he gave you more. Something gave you more. And these families are that abundance for you.
Totally. Now, boy, something hit me like a brick while you were talking. I just have to share it with you. And
Sure.
just
Yeah.
the other thing the Lord has blessed me with is tremendous stories, true
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
But here's one of them. While you were talking, I recall a Native American mother and her son that were just outside of my office window in the courtyard of our Belleview site. It's a beautiful site. And it started pouring rain,
Mhm.
and she was dancing in the pouring rain. Whew. And she wouldn't stop dancing, her and her son. She was Navajo.
Yeah.
And I looked at the staff, all came to the window. What's going on? She's dancing in the rain. So I went out and asked her, why are you dancing? She said, because it's beautiful, because I'm celebrating the rain.
Hmm.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's just so many beautiful memories of
Yeah.
a woman in the midst of deep struggle celebrating. And her son was celebrating and dancing with her. And I
Yeah.
just those are the things that I am so blessed to be a part of. It's the moments of life that if you take the time,
Yeah.
like your son, to realize that you've been blessed beyond your wildest dreams, and that our work is about passing the best blessing along. That's why we're
Yes.
here.
Yes. And I think our conversation today speaks volumes as to the passion that both of us have for what we do, and just want so much for the stories and just to be heard a little bit louder or a little bit more. And that's the opportunity that we have today. So thank you again just for like sharing that in itself, because my I'll be honest, growing up where I grew up, it's not as a big city, and it's just very much there's a very ancestral land there, and the homes are older. A lot of the infrastructure is older, and it is overall an old area to just kind of develop and have this group of a tribe developing in. And I we didn't have a lot of fancy things, but I had this abundance of culture, family, um, a culture of dynamic friendships. Like, it is definitely a place where I I grew up into the man that I am today. And so I love the fact that there are other people out there in the world that says, "Hey, look, let's help in any way that we can, shape or form, and give an opportunity to the families to better the struggle comes in all shapes and forms,
For
and
sure.
to step in and say, hey, look, I need help, and have someone give you help is the hardest thing for anyone to do.
Of course. And that doesn't go unnoticed by me that if very few people have had to place that call.
Hmm.
Here's the call. I
Yeah.
can't take care of my family anymore.
Yeah.
Can you help me?
Mm.
Can you imagine the difficulty of that call? And what struck me while you were talking, and I think it's so critical that people understand this about helping those that are struggling in the world. Authenticity is crucial.
Mhm.
I've learned over the years, we have a staff now of 21
Yeah.
in 5 different sites across the valley. And what I've
Yeah.
learned is that you can't fake authentic caring, authentic appreciation, authentic help.
Hmm.
And probably the key characteristic of the staff that we have is they're incredibly authentic. First, they're servant hearts. I mean, they're
Yeah.
people that would give you the shirt off their back,
Yeah.
but they so care, and the families recognize that. And that's makes this so different. And I think we all seek that authenticity in people we want to trust, or people that tell us they are there to
Mhm.
help us,
Yeah.
and I think that's a crucial part of what we do.
Yeah. So I'm one to be moving this conversation along into different areas, and
Sure.
I would love to kind of get into the everyday things that you
Yeah.
guys do and help these families, the programs that you have developed in your time being acting CEO, and being the in charge, so to speak. But I would love to just give us a little bit of a rundown of how Family Promise works for those
Okay.
that are there.
So first of all, it is the coolest model. I mean, brilliant model, and I deserve zero credit for that. The model is simply this, our core model.
Hmm.
We shelter in community.
Hmm.
We shelter in churches, synagogues, and mosques all over this country. People don't realize that this model is about asking the community to partner with us
Yes.
to provide bedrooms for our families.
Hmm.
So, can you imagine? We pay nothing for lodging and we pay nothing for our meals, in the sense, and we've expanded our model, so we have housing now, we have other things, but
Yeah.
our core model remains sheltering in congregations. So that is the heart of Family Promise. And by the way, you may not uh, have heard this before, but it was the first business I had ever been involved with in my life with a dual mission.
Hmm.
So we're not just helping families that have lost their homes,
Yeah.
we're helping congregations who want to live out their faith,
Yeah.
and they do it beautifully. The miracle of Family Promise, Jose, is the people of the congregations who love our families back to health.
That's
It's
awesome.
beautiful how it works. And
Yeah.
I literally mean perfection. It is the miracle of Family Promise. So that is the heart of what we do. So our mission
Yeah.
is to provide emergency shelter for families, to help them move towards sustainable housing,
Yeah.
independent housing,
Yep.
uh, and or independence. And so that is how we do that with the help of the community.
Yeah.
And in the Phoenix area, we are the only family shelter that operates this way.
Hmm.
So we're in this independent lane that is, in my view, absolutely beautiful.
I agree. I think that's again when you can have uh this is a win-win situation. I think that is working out very well in the program, and just again I think it makes sense. It
Yeah,
overall just
yeah,
everyone gets a win out of this.
yeah.
And so, I'd love to also understand some of the struggles and the hardships. I think one of the things that we were ripping the band-aid off on our last episode, we had a similar program where they were helping families with shelter, but they were getting government funding for some grants and sponsorships that they were having hardships on. But I don't think that that's something that you guys would particularly kind of have difficulties with. Here's the other thing, aspect wise, we are coming into the summer months, and as the we get a little bit hotter, I imagine that it gets a little bit harder for you, or at least difficult in the sense that more people are asking for housing and
Oh, for sure.
having to find shade and find comfort.
The hotter it is in Arizona, the bigger the demand for shelter.
Yeah,
And it's life threatening, by the way. So it's
absolutely.
really crucial. And then let me give you a little secret that very few people talk about. In the wintertime, they move out of the freezing states and
Mhm.
often come to Arizona, the families, with
Yes.
nothing because
Yes.
it's deadly there in the winter. So
Yes.
we get huge input influx of families in the wintertime. So we have two surges, the wintertime from people from out of state
State.
and the
Yeah.
summertime from people in state because of the heat.
Yeah.
So, it's just a very interesting dynamic regarding the demand for shelter
Mhm.
and what occurs there.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of wanting to ask you if I can, do you have like a number or a network of places of faith that you guys just have built up over the years?
Yeah, so we have 37 different community faith partners, churches and synagogues that
Yeah.
host all over the valley.
It's wonderful.
And we've been doing it that way for 25 years here in the
Wow.
valley.
Wow.
So, and by the way, I just want to note this to you because I think your point is actually really important. I don't want to get by it,
Mhm.
which is there is a lot of shelters in America that
Mhm.
are primarily governmentally funded.
Yes.
We happen to be primarily community partnership.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, only 5% of our resources come from governmental sources. And
Beautiful.
those are primary cities that we are in that want
Yeah.
to help us.
Yeah.
But the reason that's a big deal is that even though you are right, there are shelters going through some real difficult times right now because
Mhm.
of the government funding challenges,
Yeah.
not having that
That
challenge. We remain very cost effective, about the third the price of traditional shelter
beautiful.
because of the community partnership. And yet, we're not really in a position where we're too concerned about what's going to happen with the governmental funding side right
Mhm.
now.
Yeah. That's wonderful because again, I approach this from the sense of what I've hear from other nonprofits. And again, when you every door is different, every book has a different story to tell. So that is something that I want to be kind of transparent about because funding comes in all different places. And when you have a diversified portfolio, and sometimes it's a little bit more of one thing and sometimes it's a little bit more of another thing, and I think it's fantastic. Again, I go look at this model and I'm like, yeah, it's beautiful. Everyone's getting an opportunity to help and have their voices heard and be a superstar. It's all good. And I chop it up to you to just like you are someone who's again, you're the person in charge, but you're also looked at as the face of this program or the face of the family promise because you are getting interviewed a lot more. But for you, I imagine that there's a level of like, oh, it's not me. There's a level of like, I want to be, you give a lot of, and it shows your conversation, you give a lot of all of the kudos to others. But again, I go back to it's like someone has to hold the reins. And for you, having the reins has fulfilled your life and done a lot of for yourself and for your family. I would love to again go back to your wife and just I would love to just kind of hear the conversations that you have with her day in and day out. Um, I can imagine, she is kind of the bedrock, sort of
Oh, you
speak.
got no idea.
Because my
Oh,
wife is the same way, where it's like the struggles of who I am kind of comes back to her, and she is either I mean, a lot of the time she is someone's just like build my confidence up and it's like, you can do this. And other times she's just again one of the most endearing, caring, empathetic persons. Like, how would you feel if you were in their positions? And it just really puts me back into like I can do this.
So let's call it like it is. I've often said Debbie's the real CEO of Family Promise.
The real boss.
She truly is the smartest person. I mean, she is so good at organizational decision making, strategy. She knows my personality, so she buffers me when I need to be buffered. She
Beautiful.
corrects me. You know, she's not afraid in a loving way, and I know where her heart is to tell me, yeah, this is not the time. You know, you
Yeah.
need to be more patient. You know, it's really, if people had any idea how integral she is to Family Promise, it might scare them. But I would tell you this, that it's so genuine
Hmm.
and it's so solid that I don't know how I would do it without her. I think it was designed that way. I
It's
truly believe it.
I'm on the same boat with you because I'll just be honest, like she is. I never, my whole intention, it's like we have, you and I are the same. It's like we have the love, we have the passion, we have no idea where to start or like how to, but we know that it's like we have momentum, we have the drive to do it. And for them, they have all like business acumen. And then she is the yin to my yang. I am
Yeah.
nothing without like having her support me in the sense is like this was all passion. Like all of this was like, hey, I want to record with people. I want to, have conversations. I want storytelling. She was like, okay, you're spending a lot of time on this. How do you want to go about making this into a business? And I was like, okay. And then it took it to another level when we had our son, where it's like, okay, now we're a family. How are we wanting to leave a legacy piece for, my son's name is Atlas. How do we want to leave a legacy piece for Atlas and show him that you started something, but he can take it even further if he wanted to? So this has become so much more. And again, I love my passion is still what it is, but now it has a level of like gravitas to it to
Yeah,
to
right
give it
on.
more
Cool.
oomph.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we move into a little bit of like your future goals and goal setting. I would love to just kind of get a premise of Family Promise and nonprofits overall have kind of this kind of like we want to look at them as like, oh yeah, they're gonna divulge and be as upfront about how they work and be transparent with all of their spending. I imagine that there's some goals and high, lofty like fundraisings. Is there something that you guys are trying to achieve for 2025? What are the things that you are most concerned about for this year and then for maybe some upcoming years?
All right. So I'm going to do this in the form of a story because I think you need to
Yeah,
hear how Family Promise works,
sure.
which is very different than traditional business,
Yeah.
which is I think beautiful. But here it
Yeah.
is. I remember very well in 2012 the phone call.
Hmm.
Ring. This is Andy Iscadero from PetSmart National. My boss likes what you were doing and was wondering if you would come down and we could talk about how we might work together.
Uh-huh.
Now, we could never get that appointment, but why that's an important call is about 30 days earlier, a family had walked out of the shelter because we couldn't take their pet. And we're
Hmm.
both pet lovers, Cheryl and I. So it was like, how
Yeah.
can we not take pets? Then
Yeah.
that phone call. Well, 6 months later, we opened the first ever family shelter in Arizona that welcomes pets with the family inside the shelter.
Yay.
And I'm not done yet. Watch what happens.
Mhm.
First, about 10 to 20% of our families have pets.
Yes.
If you don't give them, if you don't take the pets in, they won't go into shelter, which means they're at risk of losing their children
Hmm.
because they're on the street or in their car. But watch what happened 6 months later. So, well, first thing that happened is Good Morning America showed up from New York City to film at our site.
Yes.
Never forget it. Number two, that president now of PetSmart National called me 6 months later and said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm going to your national meeting next month in Atlanta, and I'm going to offer to build a shelter for every family promise across the nation. That's 182 family promises at no cost. A $6.5 million gift. I never asked, Jose."
Yes.
So, what I'm telling you is that there is no way to describe to you the blessing that is wrapped around family promise.
Hmm.
Yes, I try to do a good job, but I'm going to tell you honestly that more than anything, I'm trying not to screw it up because it's so well designed. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful. The blessings are so abundant. But you ask a really important question. What do I see for the future? So I'm going to talk about 2025
Sure.
because we just opened the first of its kind container housing community
Nice.
in Glendale, Arizona. It is uniquely made out of ocean containers. We have two containers per apartment. They're 640 square feet. We're doing shared housing in that development.
Nice.
Our first families are being welcomed next week. We got the certificate
Wonderful.
of occupancy 2 weeks ago. It took us 1.5 years to get the project done. It is paid for.
Yeah.
That is an example of what we do different. We innovate at the risk of failure.
Hmm.
We innovate to come up with big solutions. I'm going to share some things with you that
Yeah.
probably could make you uncomfortable. We try to hire the very best in business and in nonprofit.
Yeah.
They should be paid the best. They should be expected to come up with the most beautiful ideas, and they do. This container development is on a church property.
Hmm.
We believe that there are church properties. We know, I'm going to go past belief. We know there are church properties all over this country,
Yeah.
all over the Phoenix area that are have excess land and would like to turn it missional. That's what we're doing. We
Nice.
have a list of 10 congregations that want our developments on their land,
That's awesome.
long-term leases.
Yes.
That's the part of the future of family promise. That's one side of this. So I believe innovation is what is necessary to solve the housing
Yeah.
crisis in our country. And by the way, when you solve it through infill using congregational
Mhm.
properties, what you're really solving is the problem of parents participating in their children's lives
Yeah.
because the housing they get is an hour and a half away on mass transit. They can't participate in parent teacher
Absolutely.
conferences
Absolutely.
or athletics or fun things that the kids are doing. So you take the parents out of the children's
Mhm.
lives. We believe it is crucial we keep those parents involved in the children's lives. We allow that missional land to be turned into
Mhm.
housing so that we can create innovative housing ways to solve the problem across the country. By the
Mhm.
way, Family Promise last year nationally served 63,000 families. We are a
Wow.
force.
Yeah.
And my belief, and we're one of the larger affiliates in the nation, but I believe that our innovation in housing is pointing toward a new America where we're
Yes.
utilizing partnerships with the faith communities, all faiths, by the way,
Mhm.
all
Yeah,
faiths.
yeah.
Um,
You hit it when you brought up synagogues. I was like,
yeah,
oh, it's not just you're not just doing one faith. It's multiple faiths. It's all shapes.
absolutely. And mosques. I mean,
Mhm.
so we are considered an ecumenical organization. We serve all faiths, welcome all faiths,
Yeah.
and I have been privileged to be in that role. So I believe housing is at the heart of the future of Family Promise. We're going
Mhm.
to do more and more housing,
Yeah.
but we're going to continue to grow these networks
Yeah.
of congregations hosting in bedrooms in their
Yeah.
facilities. And if I had one wish, it would be that every congregation considers that.
Yeah.
Because when you serve young mothers with young children in your facilities, it changes you.
Hmm.
It doesn't
Absolutely.
just change the families. It is at the heart of joy, of serving, of giving back, of appreciating the blessings that we have all been given, especially, when somebody like you, Jose, says, I've got a young boy, our first, I want to look at you and say, that is worth more than money could ever buy, my
And I,
my
and
friend.
and I treat it as such.
It is
I will treat it as such for a very long time.
Exactly. And so, given the opportunity to grow in housing, I think is a part of our future. I
Awesome.
also think growth of the interfaith network is a part of our future.
Yeah.
But there are two other aspects that are really important parts of our future.
Hmm.
Number one, we have become quite adept. We learned it during COVID,
Hmm.
a blessing during COVID. We learned it was because the waiting lists are so big in family homelessness. We learned that we could often navigate the situation they are in that they think requires shelter.
Hmm.
We could solve the situation so they didn't have to come into shelter. We call it prevention. We are now serving about 40 families a year in prevention, which on
Nice.
average is about a third the cost of shelter
Yeah.
and much less traumatic.
Yeah.
We are accelerating in the lane of prevention.
That's awesome. I'm
That's
very the way that you approach these difficult situations is just remarkable. Like it overall sense of like everything works in the benefit of one another. The overall consensus of how you are solving issues on a global scale, but with a love and passion and candor of like it's very, very beautiful. It's again, I cannot just state enough that you are providing not only help and solution for just like the smaller entities of families and people around you in community, but the larger situation at hand, if we're talking about families and homelessness,
Mhm.
you are presenting models that will help future generations show what there are ways to help one another. There are ways to shelter in these spaces. And so the fact that it's like again one part this small act, but the larger act, the ripple effect that we keep going back to is just in itself. I am going to walk away from this conversation. Ted, you are a remarkable individual. If I can just say that just to you, but I know that a lot of it is hard work from those around you and the teamwork and everything, and a little bit of luck and a lot of faith and a lot of just again blessings for Family Promise. So I really do appreciate you giving us some insight into that world and the fact that you are continuing to be here and the passion is still strong. So I don't doubt that you're going anywhere. And I just again I have high hopes in the world where we're struggling today. We see a lot of it at the forefront of our social media and just entertainment and just overall like there's a lot of negative things coming shown to us. But
Agreed.
if I can pull out the positive stuff and show that and put that in front of people and show how much it's affecting not only those families, those individuals, but the people who are helping as well and those who want to help. I think it really does show and I think it matters for from my
Right on.
perspective.
Right on. Okay.
So we conclude our conversation right now. We are going to now give it to you to let everyone know where they can find you online. This is your opportunity to, give them the email address, the phone number, a little bit of everything that you know of. But also, if there's a future event or something that you would like to just highlight that really shows off Family Promise, feel free. The floor is yours. Take it away.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
First, I just want to express my gratefulness to you for
Mhm.
helping us get the message out. We're kind of a best kept secret in the Valley and even across the nation. So, literally, the best way to get access to us is through the website, and it is Family Promise and then big letters
Mhm.
az.org. Family Promise, big letters az.org. And the reason I say that is because the national office is familypromise.org, and we would like to you connect locally with us.
Yes.
So familypromiseaz.org. And then I would say that on that website, we have opportunities. We're always looking for new congregations to help us provide bedrooms for families. That's a beautiful way to participate. Volunteering, we have we have over 3,600 volunteers a year, just so you know. And you'll see those opportunities on the website. We have
Awesome.
an Amazon wish list. We have all those kind of opportunities. We're qualified for the Arizona Charitable Tax Credit. We would love to have your help if you are so inclined to give a charitable tax credit. And by the way, the only state in America that allows 100%. It's
Yes.
crazy.
Yes.
It's really
Yes.
something that will go away someday. And then finally, I thought, thank you for your mention of events.
Mhm.
We have two of the premier events in the Valley. People love it. And
Okay.
one
I
of them
love
is
to hear these.
a golf tournament in the fall,
Okay.
and it's called the Wines Around the World event in the spring.
I do
And,
know the wines around the world.
and let me tell you, these hits are grand slams. They love, people go, they sell out every year. They're really crazy. So
Yeah.
you can find it all on the website. We'd love to have your help. Our phone number is there as well. Come visit us. Come down, just ask for a tour. Even if you
Yeah.
have nothing else but just want to have a tour, I would
Yeah.
share this with you. Our facilities will blow your mind.
Oh, I
They,
bet.
they are so beautiful and so authentic. They're not opulent, they're authentic,
Hmm.
and people love them. So I would encourage you to do that. I'd love to have you come down anytime.
Yeah. Ted, you know what? I really do. If anything, I would love not only a tour from you, but I would love to have lunch or dinner with you and your wife. I would really enjoy that. Just
Bring it
to,
on, Jose.
yeah, I would love that. So we'll set that up, or we'll
You
try and
got
make that happen. And then before we go, you can hear every episode of our podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. Social media wise, Finding Arizona Podcast under everything. And last but not least, we end every conversation with the kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends. And we will see you next time.